so moist.
Hey everybody, welcome to Functional Meatheads. I'm Mark DeSalvo.
And I'm Froilan Sanchez.
Thanks for joining us for another episode. And I have to say, tonight is a night that I approach with a lot of anxiety. The Penguins are in Game 7 against the Rangers after having blown a 3-1 series lead. So let's get our sports talk out of the way real quick.
I know another Steelers person was talking to me about it. I'm like, uh-oh. It's going to be.
Yeah, it'll be a good game, which starts soon. So we got to hurry this podcast the frick up, man.
Yeah.
What? It's in Pittsburgh.
Okay, so they should have an advantage.
Yeah, definitely.
How did the series go? What's the sequence they use?
Well, the Rangers won the first game.
No, but where? Home, away, home, away. How's it go?
You go 2 home.
So wait, who had the advantage?
Pittsburgh. So 2 in Pittsburgh, 2 in New York, 1 back in Pittsburgh, 1 in New York, 1 back in Pittsburgh.
They lost twice at home? No.
Yes.
Yeah,
So Pittsburgh lost the first game at home, but then they won the next 3. So they won their second home. They won their second home game, and then they won 2 in New York.
Yeah.
Took it back to Pittsburgh to close it out, but couldn't do it.
What?
Couldn't do it in New York
I
either.
don't know about that.
Yeah. Well,
Momentum on New York's part, man.
what's that?
That's solid momentum on New York's part.
Yeah, I mean they had a lot. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of extracurriculars with that series. There's a lot of like the big storyline is that right before the game that the Rangers, so it would have been Game 5 or whichever game was their first elimination game. One of the Rangers star players, Martin St. Louis, his mother died. So, and it was right before Mother's Day. So that was like a big rallying cry. And that like infused them with energy. I mean, who knows if it was that, but the Rangers came out swinging, and they've been playing with a lot of energy ever since. It's like they either got some good film on the Penguins and started playing defense, because that's one thing. The Penguins were just leaving the Rangers in the dust, you know, and the Rangers are playing good defense now. It's not so much the Penguins are playing bad. The Rangers are just playing really solid defense.
Interesting. I didn't know hockey had defense.
Mm-hmm. It's because you don't know hockey, brah.
The world doesn't know hockey.
Yeah, that's actually pretty true, except for the cold countries.
Yeah, right. It's a weird niche, very specific area.
You know, you just gave me a great segue. Speaking of very specific niche things,
yeah,
we've been talking quite a bit about, and I know you have been getting very annoyed with all of the Vibram footwear talk about that lawsuit, the class action settlement.
Ridiculous. I was just reading. Everybody comes out. Everybody who knows I wear those shoes have been sending me the email to get money. People at the gym telling me the same thing. Because coincidentally, I started wearing it the day the class action came out. It's very very weird because according to all the literature I've read, Vibram doesn't admit anything. They just settled. They just decided to settle for $3.75 million, I believe, and maybe some additional costs.
It's true. They agreed to settle because they didn't want to keep paying legal fees to continue it.
Yeah.
In other words, it was cheaper to pay out everyone $20 to $50 than to.
Yeah, so weird. That tells you, sadly. I wonder if moralistically they said, okay, it's ever since 2009. So anybody who's bought them, are they gonna, even if I like them, I have like 4 pairs. I can get at least $100, anywhere from $50 to $100 back.
Right.
I mean, they did everything they said they were going to do for me, you know, and I just happened to be very lucky, and I ramped up properly, you know.
Right. Yeah.
It's a commentary. It's a sad commentary on fitness and health and misinformation and open mind about certain things. Like, it's very, very weird. I mean, when you got the first pair, what did you do? Did you break them in? Like, how did you go about?
I did it exactly the way you're supposed to. I started wearing them just a handful of hours a day to not exercise, just to be around, like, you know, around the house, walk to the corner store. that kind of thing. And then I started wearing them to work, and I was training, so I think I was still working at a gym, but not training at that point when I first got them. And I would wear them at work, but not training. And after a couple, maybe like 2 weeks, two, three, yeah, like 2 or 3 weeks of that, that felt very normal. So I started working out in them, not running, but working out in them, uh, which was awesome.
Uh,
And almost right away. So just lifting, you just felt the proprioception was great, especially on your power lifts, because you could really feel the ground.
yeah,
It's why a lot of guys deadlift in their bare feet or socks at the gym. You're gonna see that.
yeah.
And it was really cool. And then I started running in them probably maybe 2 months into it.
Okay. So you know, ramp a big, long, nice, delicious ramp up phase.
Yeah.
Then that's, I mean, I'm trying to think. I didn't know much about it. I just saw them and I thought they were cool. So I bought a pair, put them on, and wore them all day long for like 6 hours. And I had to actually sit on the curb on the sidewalk because my feet were so freaking tired.
Oh
Like every
yeah.
single muscle was just so exhausted. So I just sat down. I was walking to my car after a long day. I'm like, damn. And then I read and I said, oh yeah, you're not supposed to wear them for. You're not supposed to
Yeah.
wear, like you wear them for 2 hours and then or maybe an
Which
hour. Roll
which
your
is
calves. So I'm trying to think the first run I ever did them. I
which
just
is
kind of broke it.
weird.
I did like maybe a mile, and then my calves were dead the next day. Like you said, like wear them while you work out. I just started wearing them a lot around working around, walking around, and then building up that proprioception or that body awareness to get, okay, I'm really tight here. Let's try this. Everything else from there. I was the first person to wear them, the first trainer to wear them at my gym in California. They actually told me I could wear them. Then they told me that they weren't allowed. And then my manager said, look, what, this is ridiculous. And he fought for it, and then they let him back in. And then as soon as they said that, 5 or 6 trainers started wearing them at the gym. This is in California. And the reason most of them did it because it was such a good talking point with members that members would come up to you.
Right.
And that's what,
Exactly.
the trainer, that's what you want. You know, you want people to come up to you or at least start talking to you. So
Yeah, especially in that setting. Anything that starts a conversation is a good thing.
yeah, it's an interesting thing. And then I don't even think people do them properly. I'm trying to think if anybody. I don't ever see anybody with broken feet wearing them though, like with any sort of broken issue, like the ankles or anything like that. So very rarely do I see somebody doing that. I don't know, man. I just see this. This is like tarnished my outlook on things because you see the nastiness in people, like sending me emails or people going, "Oh yeah, those stupid shoes," articles saying those ugly shoes. It's almost like something different. Let's make fun of it. Oh, we were right. You're stupid. Like blah blah blah. It makes me think how many of these things are brought forth by like Nike.
That's that's exactly what my mom said when I was talking to her about it.
Yeah, right.
Hmm.
I don't know. I felt well, I was like, ugh, this is the ugly side of it, you know. I mean, yeah, we make fun of CrossFit, we do that, but you know, we half mean it, we half don't mean it. You know, when we say it, that these people are like very vituperative about the issue of shoes and get your money back and this is stupid. I was just reading a comment about this troll. It was like, they suck for trail running, they suck for this, they suck for that. I wonder if these people that are like, they just have zero body awareness, zero understanding of like whole health of what's going on in your body and what's affecting going on. You know, one of the best things about the shoe is that you get this like Spider-Man sense like of what's on the floor when you're walking or running. So I'd be running on trails or running half trails and half cement in California, and a twig would just mess up your whole day because you land right on your foot. You're like, damn it, and then you get better at it, so you halfway land on the twig and pop off real quick. It's like every single. I can't believe they couldn't find one scientist that says, yeah, your foot gets stronger. How's that possible? How's that not possible?
Well, maybe they did, and they just weren't going for it. Like this is the thing you have to remember. I was trying to poke holes in everything I could find,
Go ahead, sorry.
and this okay, so my biggest problem with it was how it was reported, because usually the journalistic integrity of things are my biggest pet peeve. That Vibram never, like you said, they never admitted that there was anything wrong with their product, and said that they lied about anything. And basically what happened is someone sued them because they said that they made those claims on the box or in their ads about it strengthening your foot muscles and et cetera, et cetera.
I'll be
And they
free.
right, and they claimed that they made those claims in an unfounded way, like there was no research to support it. Now, which may or may not be true, and that was at the heart of the case of what they were trying to prove. So, you know, so many places reported on that so incorrectly that they said that doctors are finding no such links, scientists are finding no such links. And it's like, really, I think you're just parroting one article that said that. Like, because everyone who's saying it, like the Huffington Post pulled it from some other person who actually reported it, and
Yeah.
it just became this mess of like people saying like, "Ha, see, told you they do nothing." First of all, they settled because they realized they didn't want to keep this fight going because it's costing a lot in lawyer fees. Uh,
Yeah. Weird.
Second of all, I think that um, this is like where it gets a little dicey, and like I don't even know how to say it, but this is where like science kind of fails us sometimes, because it's like, or like certain parts of the scientific method, I should say, but because you can research something like the guy who wrote Born to Run, for instance. Like you can research a topic so heavily, such as like running and gait patterns and barefoot running, and you kind of get this just sort of innate just feeling with it. It's almost like you're a shaman of sorts, kind of like the stuff that like Malcolm Gladwell even describes in Outliers and all that stuff, of people who can just, or maybe it was Blink, I can't, one of those books he wrote. That there's some people who just have that sixth sense. He talks about that tennis coach that the moment someone threw a ball up for a serve, he could tell if it was gonna go out of bounds or foul or whatever. He said before they even struck it, he would just be like foul, and it would go right out. And he would be in an isolated area where the tennis player couldn't hear him. Like, how do you measure that guy's ability?
Yeah.
Other than just seeing it.
Yeah.
And I'm not. And the reason I say it's dicey is because it's not like you can just say, "Well, I believe it, so it works, bro." You can't always say that, because sometimes science clearly has you in the wrong. But there's other times where it's like, well, how do you study this, or has anyone spent the time to really study it?
Yeah.
And
I wonder if the injury-free thing was what screwed them, because if I walk on my hands all day, they're gonna
yeah,
get stronger. You
yeah,
know?
they shouldn't have. That's if that's the one that screwed them, they probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, because I could see that, because running is a very tricky thing. We've said this before, like, and I heard this before the lawsuit came out about toe shoes. It was on NPR. He's a running specialist. He's like, look, running is like the worst sport you can do if you have any sort of little injuries. Barefoot running or vibrant or running with toe shoes would enhance that 1,000 times. So in a way, it's like you're gonna find out something about your lower body. The more you wear, the less the closer your foot is to the ground. You're gonna learn a lot more if you're in tune with your body. If you're not and you're just wearing them because they were fad, or you just have no idea about how to wear them, because they don't really come with an instruction manual. You know,
The
it doesn't.
first pair I ever bought told you to break them in slowly. They didn't like give you instructions like you said, but it said like build up, basically.
Because it's a very important. I think maybe it did. Maybe it should walk around a little bit, but nothing in depth like foam roll, stretch.
Oh yeah.
If you have a pre-existing injury, you may not want to. I think and I think this journalism thing works both ways, because I think a lot of people started writing articles about, oh, I couldn't run with cushion shoes, and then I got the Vibrams, and they saved my foot, but they didn't get into the in-depth about, okay, what happened here, what actually worked there. They just said like, oh, my knee's fixed because I learned how to walk upstairs correctly, and blah blah blah. They didn't say, okay, nobody got into the nitty gritty of the science. So I think that in that way, I'll be fair and say it was a two-way street.
Yeah, no, that's true. I shouldn't shoot
Where
in the middle of
no,
it.
but I'm not. That doesn't discount your point at all. I'm just saying I saw people pump it up the other way too, and I was happy because I saw those. But I guess what we're really saying is, what was we would love to interview that lady who brought the lawsuit, or just ask her like, what went wrong here? Like, are you just a litigious person? Did you really get hurt? Did you take the shoes back and they wouldn't refund them and you got angry?
Right.
You're a lawyer yourself. Like, what happened? And I'm not being negative about it. I just want to know, because according to the articles I read, nothing states, you don't know if she got injured. You don't know, did she try to take the shoes back? You don't know any of the juicy details about, like, what went wrong. You know, what brought it to the point of, I'm going to sue you.
Right. It could have been just someone trying to test how bulletproof a claim was.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know, but I wonder if that's why it's so secret. You know,
Right.
it's
Yeah,
like I could research it if I really wanted to find out.
I don't know. I mean, I will say what I've always said about uh toe shoes and barefoot things in general. We did a whole podcast on this of choosing footwear for what you need it for. So, in other words, it does not suit you to wear a running shoe, like a racing running shoe with a thick heel that elevates the heel and gets your calf in that ready sort of position. It
You're
doesn't
wearing heels.
it doesn't suit you to do that if you stand all day. You
Yeah.
know? Like, in other words, you shouldn't. It's a flawed thing to think I can wear any shoes I want to work, so
Yeah.
I'm going to wear running sneakers because they're most comfortable. That's not correct. You should not do that. You should think you need to get the right kind of running shoes. Like Nike makes those shoes, the Flyknit Racer, and they sold extremely well because it was what was used in the 2012 Olympics and on the U.S. team. Those things have a gigantic fucking heel. And
Yeah.
they're great racing shoes. They were made to race because it gets your foot in that position where it's forcing you to strike on the ball of your foot, and you never. It's an efficiency machine. It's an engineering marvel. It is not for standing around in the office or even as a trainer to stand around. It's not for doing squats in. It's not for doing any of that. It is made to race and make you faster, or help make you faster. It
I think there's an effect going on. Like, I'm trying to think of all the feet and the shoes I see at the gym. Very rarely do I see the big, thick running shoe anymore.
Right, it's going down because the barefoot thing actually, I think changed
With the
people.
bar in a way.
It changed people's aesthetic about it. And one good thing that developed in the running industry, to kind of finish my point too, is that there's a whole subclass of shoes now called transitional shoes. So it's meant to be like, now you have barefoot, transitional, and then traditional. So like the transitionals are the category of like the New Balance Minimus or like the Nike Free
Well,
or
I don't remember if you remember like 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah,
Nike Free called itself barefoot.
well, 4 or 5 years ago, Nike used to have the 5.0, the 4.0, the 3.0, the 2.0,
Still
4.0.
do.
Yeah, they still do? Okay. But they never went full toe until whatever their version is now, the Hyperfeel.
Yeah, which isn't. It still has a 3 drop.
Yeah, I went, when they told me that I couldn't wear, at my first gym in California, when they told me I couldn't wear those shoes,
Uh-huh.
I had to go to the 1.0s, and I felt like I was wearing high heels. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't.
I don't think they ever made a 1.0 because they just started doing a 1 recently
Okay,
for
maybe
women.
it was the 2.0s. I know it was 2.0s.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is too, I can't wear this. Like, I felt like I just felt like I was disconnected. I'm like, this is lame. I was like, I don't know if I can work here. I was like totally doubting everything because
Right.
I'm so used to feeling the ground and just I wear them all the time. If it hasn't been for my heel injury, I wore them 4 hours today at work. I wore them 3 hours the day before. I'm just building up my heel strength to try to running in them again because I missed it. But
Right.
it feels fantastic, and I can tell how the dynamics. This is the first time that I'm as supple, to use a supple leopard term. This is the first time that I'm more supple almost at the age that I am now than ever before. And wearing the toe shoes like that, it's like silk, man. It's like nothing. And I can feel like any stiffness in my hips or anything, and I know what I know what needs to be stretched. I know what's sore. I know everything immediately just by wearing these shoes. Whereas before, it's a little gunked up. There's levels of awareness, and once you get supple and you start doing like the Limber 11 and all the Kelly Starrett, get rid of all that stuff. There's another level of awareness that you'll have. You're like, wow. It's
Right, and that
it's just like detoxing. You'll and the gluten will be like if you sat wrong for 2 hours, you're like, oh, that's my gluten, and you're like, I know I got to loosen up my sacrum or my hip or my lower back.
yeah, that's a great analogy actually. That is,
It's true. Like the sitting in this chair that I do for the podcast, I sit on an angle and I'm leaned back a little bit. It's not optimal, but once I get up, I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta stretch out a little bit or move around, or I know what I gotta do tomorrow with the crossball, etc. So everything, like you said, every shoe has its purpose in terms of why and where they make them, but it's a novelty to see a big, thick shoe anymore. Just like I don't know about you. I mean, if it wasn't for Jordans, people wouldn't be wearing high tops at all.
yeah, I mean high tops. Well, I mean there's like that brand Supra and other things that brought it back in
Yeah,
vogue, but I think that yeah, fashion. I mean but I think the era of the high top is even its recent fad of the past 10 years. I think it's going down, but like you said, it's really only Jordans and basketball shoes.
yeah,
And, yeah, I think that you have to be mindful of of what you need your footwear to do for you. Like what you're doing. Like you need to choose it appropriately. And I think I always thought that Vibram's biggest the thing that they should have attacked more, which Adidas sort of tried to, was that there was so much debate on whether or not they were good for running, but to me it's very unless you're doing like real high level lifts, like it's a great shoe for weightlifters. Like it's a great shoe for athletes in training. Like Joe DeFranco famously made Triple H wear them when he was training them and to
yeah.
help heal
Right.
hip problems. And that's big. And Adidas made their version of toe shoes, but they always marketed them for the weight room. I even bought a pair, and I always loved them. I used to wear them all the time.
They
And
discontinue it.
what's that?
Did they discontinue it?
As of last year, no. I don't know if there's one for this season.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure, but you know, the Vibrams for me always represented a really good flat shoe to train in and to stand in. For me, someone like me, I wear a zero drop all day long. I mean, because in the morning I'm working out or whatever I'm doing, I'm wearing the Vibrams, and then when I go to work or training or anything like that, I'll either wear the Vibrams or I wear the Vivo Barefoots, or I'll wear like a completely like old school, just like a kid style, just canvas sneaker, completely flat.
Minimalist.
Yeah, that's just how I do it. So I stand a lot, and then when I'm not standing, I'm sitting, and that's about it. I don't really need a runner. I don't need a racing shoe. I don't need a weightlifter's shoe. You
Yeah.
know.
I almost want to go to like the approach, and I think this will probably be a bigger picture for the podcast. And you can go broader with it. If you're going to a shoe to fix something, you got to review everything instead. You know?
Yeah.
I'll give you two examples. My knee is busted. I'm gonna try. I can't run in New Balances, big thick Bill Clinton New Balances. I hear about the toe shoes. I'm gonna try running in that. The reason why I like that is because it's a step in the right direction. It's not a cure in and of itself, but
hmm
because the minimalist shoe reduces any, it almost gives me a clean slate as a trainer to be like, okay, what's going on upstream, downstream, ankle, hip. I think that path will lend you more towards, oh, let me go get a trainer to figure out what's going on in my hips or what's going on with everything else.
Yeah.
The other path is, and I know millions of people, and you do too, that, oh, I have weak arches. Oh, well, here you go. Here's the newest ASICs that supports your arch.
Yeah.
So I'm going to a shoe to do something that my body is supposed to do.
Right.
And that's like, I would say like 50% of the people have problems like that. And you're going to a shoe to support your arch. You need arch support. You need Dr. Scholl's level 57 or whatever.
Right.
If you're going to a knowingly going to a product to fix something on your body, and I'm not going to be as bold to say any orthotics. I'm just going to say I'm going with a general shoe, ASICS arch support shoe.
Right.
Um, you need to go you need to go to figure out what's really going on and why you need to have that. Because according
Yeah.
to Brett and a bunch of people, you can fix broken arches.
Yeah.
Just learning how to, externally rotate, etc., and consistently fire that, fire that, fire that. So if you're knowingly going to a product, like for example, one thing that gets me is compression socks.
Hmm.
People with those compression socks, or at least the half ones that go from the ankle to the knee.
Are you talking? Oh yeah, yeah. And like the thing the CrossFitters wear, or are you talking about just like compression, anything in general?
No, no, compression. I'm speaking. I know I'm cool with compression shorts for workouts or training or basketball, whatever.
Right.
Talking about the people that are specifically wearing the compression socks all the time. I'm always wondering. I'm like, do you even foam roll, or is that just your stopgap? Like, it's
Right.
like foam rolling. I'm going to support my. I know it has other benefits like shedding blood and recovery and all that stuff, but I always see that and I'm wondering, are these people fixing their problem, or is that an aspirin?
Right.
I'm always wondering that, and it's a very specific. The products that we use should bring us to higher levels of awareness of what's going on in our body, not more levels of externality. Like, you learn to you buy a kettlebell, you don't know anything about it, you hurt yourself, you just learn something about the kettlebell and your body. Um, you learn that if you do kettlebells and you can't sit down the next day, okay, you learn that that's the stuff on the hamstrings and the butt. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But all this stuff that's external should be a two-way learnings. Something that you learn both ways, not just, oh man, my arches are busted. I'm gonna go buy a shoe. End of story. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's what we always say though. It's always you have to ask yourself your question: why are you doing this? Is it's that awareness? Like, where is this really coming from?
Uh,
And yeah, it's big. That sort of reminded me of when you're talking about the compression stuff. It reminds me of a client that I had for a while. When she first came to see me, she was getting over ACL tear, all kinds of. It was like ACL, MCL, had all these different other issues kind of going on in the leg, and she went through a really good physical therapy regimen, and they actually did a really good job in terms of uh, healing her with in terms of like watching her do squat form, all that stuff. Like she was able to cue her feet in, like there was no broken arches, that kind of thing. Like she was rehabbed correctly, it was pretty strong, but she had this reliance on this knee brace on that same leg,
yeah,
and she like anytime she would get uncomfortable with it, she would want to put it on or put it on or just kind of like shut down a little bit,
yeah,
and she was conscious of that, and like that was one of the reasons she came to see me, because she's like, I don't want to wear it always. I don't think I should, because I feel like when I wear it, because the reason she was starting to make the connection is that she was training for a couple months with it on all the time, kind of like you're describing.
yeah,
And then she took it off and tried to train without it, and she just didn't feel right and felt weaker and felt like it was giving her this weird advantage. And I was like, well, you have the right inclination, we do need to get you off of it, especially because you've healed,
yeah,
there's nothing structurally wrong with you anymore, like in terms of like something a doctor would have to fix or a surgeon, so let's get you there. And I just remember that vividly of it was like someone putting it exactly what you're describing together, but not quite realizing it. Like, in other words, it took them 3 months. Like, if they had been with me for 3 sessions, I would have been like, we got to get rid of that fucking brace, as soon as possible. But
yeah. I have people like that. Injuries are fascinating. I can never find any literature on retraining a body part to come back from an injury. Like I can never find. I ask people all the time, and I can never find. I know how to turn things back on, but I want some more science, like hardcore science on, you know, getting rid of all the compensations. I understand the general, like, foam roll the area around the muscle injury, foam roll the injury, then you go around there. Like, I understand that, but I want to know. I want like an injury whisperer to write a book and be like, look, this is how you. And I can't find anything. I mean, you have general things, but I can never find somebody who's done it. I've done this with Derrick Rose, or I did this with Danny Manning, or I want these people that came back from horrific injuries. How did they do it?
Yeah, GSP. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Anytime I've had to research injuries too, the best stuff you get is when you look into archives of things that are on like Google Books or these like long out of print books, and they're the only ones who ever seem to tackle these subjects head on. But
Uh,
the information's always a little hokey. Like they always say deliberately, they'll say for those who have torn ACLs, boom, this is what the dysfunction is. But then their treatment is always
yeah.
like,
I always wonder if it's mental because everything runs through the brain I'd have to research that. Does everything run through the brain in terms of like, oh, I hurt my heel, limp, or does my body? I think my body automatically takes over. Like for example, you twist your ankle, your glute shuts down.
yeah,
So it's a body taking over for itself because the body always wants to move away from pain. But how do you massage it in reverse? Like, okay, the pain's gone. Is that where the mental comes in? And if so, it's funny that the mental doesn't come in when you hurt yourself. Mental comes in when you're recovering from the hurt.
hmm
You know what I mean?
yeah,
You have to tell yourself. That lady had to tell herself, okay, my brace is good. If anything, I'm using the brace for just to keep the area warm.
right.
Tell clients, I'm like, look, keep your brace for now, especially if you do an aggressive sport, even if it's just to keep blood in that area.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've used like calf compression sleeves at various points in the past, and
Oh,
and
that's
I
right, you
u-
have one, right?
yeah, and I used the main reason I used the calf compression sleeve. I bought it because it was a hot summer, and I kept like hitting myself with the deadlift bar on the shins, and I didn't want to get all cut up. So, so I would put 'em- What's that?
The man scars.
Yeah, so I put them on to make sure I didn't scrape my shins because I'm not like a pants guy. I like wearing shorts. I'll wear shorts any chance I get. So, uh, so anyway, that was why I got them, but they turned out to be.
You're not helping our machismo.
I know. And then but however, the reason one of the things that helped me with though is that on a day, like especially when I was really dealing hardcore with treating the unilateral pronation, that I would spend a morning doing all kinds of foam rolling and massage and the right little exercises and just working on the arch on that right leg and whatever. And I wanted to remind myself all day because I was nice and loose. I was able to like really get the foot in where it needed to be and in position. It was the blood flow thing that I wanted there, and it was also the constant reminder of that you have this one thing around your just that leg, and it's always like a cue to like keep that foot straight, keep the foot straight. And I only had to do it for a couple weeks. And
A rubber band, like Kevin Garnett's rubber bands around his wrist.
what was that?
Kevin Garnett wears rubber bands around his wrist.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. So it was kind of like that. So uh, I do think compression helps with the blood flow thing and all that, but
Oh yeah,
I
I'm not saying they're bad, but I know
no, I know you're not. I know you're not.
I look at people and they're stiff as hell when they're walking, and they're just doing it to like basically the compression sleeves holding their leg attached to their ankle. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it's like glue.
last stitch up, and if you said, hey, if you foam rolled, they're like, what the hell is that? No, it hurts. That shit hurts. This doesn't hurt. Me wearing this compression sleeve doesn't hurt. Foam rolling hurt. You know that type of mentality?
Yeah, I had a oh, absolutely. I had a perspective. Speaking of that, I had like a prospective client the other day I was talking to, and she's a runner, and I asked her, and she's like, I have this pain in my hip, and it's like kind of in the rear part of her hip, and
You said meat lacrosse ball.
yeah, right away I was just like, my question went right to, do you foam roll? And she was like, yes, and I was like, all right. So I was immediately skeptical because if she was doing it right, she probably
Yeah.
wouldn't be
How do you
having.
foam roll? There's three,
Yeah.
I have 3 ways that are foolproof now, and I'm like, people are like, what? And I guarantee you, if she does, all she does is go back and forth really fast.
Yeah, so I asked her, and as I was digging more, she was like, "Well, I just got it, and I've only used it once." And I was like, "Then you don't foam roll, like but you got to use it though. So I'm glad you have it." And then I showed her, I was like, "Do this, this, and this." And then I pulled out the lacrosse ball, and I was like, "Get one of these." And she's like, "Oh, I have one of the ones that has like the little spikes in it." And I was like, "Perfect, even better. Use that." And I was like, "Sit on it." You know? Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
this is not soft. The spike ball, the spike doesn't really get my butt much because it gives in too much.
Yeah, I don't know. Lacrosse balls work best.
I would say
Sometimes.
if somebody's really tentative about it, start off with a tennis ball, and then lacrosse ball is like, if you're a badass, just go lacrosse ball.
Yeah, from the jump, just do it.
Yeah,
Don't waste your time. If you can
band-aid
handle it.
off. Rip the band-aid off. Don't be like, okay, let me.
You know what
Right.
I used? You know what I used the other day is a baseball because there's guys at jiu-jitsu that have baseballs.
Baseball's pretty tough.
Yeah, that was tough. I actually liked it. The only problem is that the jiu-jitsu gym, the entire thing's matted, so the floor gives, so you can't get as deep as you want, you know?
The whole thing, the whole area.
Yeah, the entire place is matted. It's kind of cool. Except the area where like the front desk is.
Also, diet. Like somebody with her, like a runner, I'd be like, "What's your diet?"
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I didn't really get into that with her, but
Only because I know nobody. I listen to everybody out there. Listen to Bulletproof Podcast number 120. It's phenomenal. She talks all about fats and like good fats and the cell walls of our mitochondria being made of 70% fat. What type of fat? Saturated fat and cholesterol.
right.
So the thing that everybody's trying to avoid makes up 70% of your cell mitochondrial walls. It's just insane. It's insanity. And nobody eats fat. Good
Yeah.
fat. The two worst things to eat are sugar and vegetable oils. She even says if you're cooking with an oil if it's liquid at room temperature, you're killing yourself.
Coconut oil is liquid at room temperature.
That according to her, it's not good. Well, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know about that. I don't know if the coconut oil is liquid at room temperature.
well, it's coconut oil's liquid state is kind of dicey because if you live in like a nice air conditioned place in California or Arizona, it's going to be solid at room temperature because it's
Okay, like,
constant.
my experience with coconut oil in New York is on a hot day, it's always liquid.
Yeah.
On a medium day, it's a little bit of both.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Room temperature is relative.
Yeah, and now once I started cooking with lard, it's solid.
I almost disagree with her with the olive oil though. Like I don't think you should cook with olive oil, but I think raw olive oil is great.
Olive oil should not be used for cooking at all. It's even
Yeah, I never use it. Yeah,
but
I use it for salads and like that kind of
salad
stuff.
dressing, really good for salad dressings and lightly sautéing.
Yeah, you know what it tastes good on is when you make fish and
Uh,
like asparagus. Just at the end, just drizzle a little bit over it.
there you go.
Eat like a doctor, as Joey Diaz would say.
Yeah, she talks about no fat. Nobody eats enough fat. I think I eat barely enough fat. I don't do aspirin fat, but I totally
Yeah.
understand what she's saying, and she cured herself from multiple sclerosis because she figured that even though this stuff was every single one of her illnesses or other people's illnesses that were similar to hers was based on mitochondrial dysfunction. So she just said, I'm going to feed my mitochondria what it wants. And just off of that, she went from being in a wheelchair to like biking 20 miles a day.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
she fixed Huntington's disease. multiple sclerosis.
Well, I'd be curious to see if she could like replicate the multiple sclerosis thing because
Yeah,
that's
she has a book.
well, it's considered to be, isn't it considered? I mean, we should look it up if it's considered to
uh,
be like uncurable, like you know what I mean?
Considered to be neurological.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to put that information out there if that's like
I'll tell you the
bullshit.
book, too.
I know, but she's claiming it, but like who is she? Who's verified her, you know?
Terry Walls, TED. She has a TED talk. Okay, so Terry Walls, TERRYWAHLS TED talk, minding your mitochondria. That's a TED talk you have it out right there. She also has a TED talk. Terry Walls, MD, medical doctor. Uh,
You know what that sounds like to me? She probably wasn't properly diagnosed as MS. She probably was an MS.
There's a book called The Walls Protocol: How I Beat Progressive MS Using Paleo Principles and Functional Medicine.
I wonder if she still has it and she's just like significantly slowing down the process.
I don't know, but she's managing. I mean, at the best, she's managing it, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that would be great.
Let me look up the book, see if I can find any more. But anyways,
No, I mean, I'm not trying to be a
no,
dick,
bro,
but I know how serious MS
you're
is.
hating. You're hating or you're trolling. I don't know. I can't
I'm
figure it out.
not trolling. I'm just saying, like, I get mad when people
You got
say that they,
multiple sclerosis.
yeah.
I'm
Well,
kidding.
I could be wrong too, and if I'm wrong, tell
I'm
me.
trolling you, dog.
I just can't let us say. I have to be all Rogan about it. I can't let us say like, oh, she cured MS through eating coconut oil. You know.
She had to suffer of progressive multiple sclerosis. Let's see.
There is no known cure for multiple sclerosis.
Let's see. Until she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2000. Within 3 years, her back and stomach muscles had weakened to the point where she needed a tilt recline wheelchair. Blah blah blah. Nutrient-rich paleo diet. Adopted a nutrient-rich paleo diet. It's a regimen of neuromuscular stimulation. Yeah. TED Talk. Okay, that went viral. Details a protocol that allowed her to reverse many of her symptoms, get back to her life, and embark on a new mission to share the Walls protocol and others suffering from the ravages of multiple sclerosis
Well,
and
there you go.
autoimmune conditions.
There you go. She's managing it. It's
Yeah.
not like gone. She just
Oh.
manages it.
Well, I think nowadays when you say cure, it comes with quotations.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just saying, like, it's. I knew that there was no known cure, and you know, it comes in attacks. You know, like.
Lady on Amazon said it works. I am healing from MS.
Right. I'm sure it helps because, as we know, a lot of these things seem to come from inflammation. This is in the first sentence of the multiple sclerosis Wikipedia entry. Is that it's like an autoimmune disease is an inflammatory disease. It's like it always comes back to inflammation. So obviously you can manage your symptoms if you reduce your inflammation.
Yeah, this is interesting. She says, yeah.
No, I'm happy for it. That's great. I would love to read it actually. I'm just saying that like I don't like how people like cure because you don't you know what I mean? If you could
All
cure
the
it.
reviews are like 5 stars. Wow. I have to get this book now, damn it.
The curse.
Kindle price is legit.
Yeah, those Kindle prices are very clutch.
List price is 28, Kindle price.
So where were we? What were we talking about before I was trolling?
Um,
For truth.
Shoes, going around discussing the broader aspect of going to we're talking like managing your injury through a product rather than
Yeah, your brace or whatever.
fixing it. So, I mean, in terms of understanding all of what we're saying is, as much as we'd like to work out naked and barefoot and everything else, the stuff we wear, even if it's Mark's $100 Nike sweat-proof shirt, or these things are extensions. They're merely extensions of what you're doing in the gym, and sometimes they're not even functional, regardless of what emblem they have on them. It's,
Yeah.
it's always you are always the product, and you are always the one that's experiencing these things. Not the shoe, not the shirt. not the compression shorts, you know, etc. Um, interesting concept. Not the Lululemon price tag or anything else like that. You're at the center of all your apparel or footwear or a compression sock. So
Yeah.
don't lose sight on a product. Don't lose sight because of a product, you know? Unless it's something you want to fit into.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's
And use your own mind when it comes to like being open-minded about products, toe shoes to foam rollers to lacrosse balls. Sorry, I just wanted to get that up.
no, it's true. That's good. Let's transition for a sec and work backwards here because we were going to talk about a project before we close out. We were talking
Great.
about, given that it's springtime, a lot of people suffer from seasonal allergies. I'm
Oh,
one. I'm one of them. Freud was going to dissect me and
no,
maybe.
if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, I have allergies," okay, number one, your parents must have been very critical. Number two,
What?
it's true. You never heard that?
No, I've never heard that.
It was on one of the Ask the Paul checks, I think. He said people who have allergies had at least one or both parents who were very critical.
See, that's weird because my parents couldn't be more opposite of that.
I'm just saying, this is like generality. Second thing is, and this is from the Walls Protocol. So you inherited any of your parents' allergies just on a grander scale. So whatever's wrong with you gets passed, and you have a kid, it gets passed down 4 generations. Very interesting stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Number two, obviously everything's in the immune system. So what I would say is, even though it's out there, I would try the bee pollen, small doses, natural, organic bee pollen. Going to like a market of farmers market. Other than your daily probiotic, are you eating any fermented foods on your own?
Kombucha,
Perfect. Perfect.
pickles. Yeah.
Perfect. I know you've reduced all your inflammation.
Yeah, until you took me to Whitman's over the weekend. Sorry,
Okay.
go.
I know you reduced your inflammation, and I know. Okay, but are you doing anything to mitigate foods when you do have inflammation? That was one of the things. So good for bringing it up.
And what do you mean
So for
exactly?
example, if I know I'm going to have a cheat meal, I take some N-acetylcysteine before,
Uh-huh.
and then afterwards I have some activated charcoal, and it clears up any symptoms of the gluten and everything because it's getting absorbed. I know I'm still paying a price on the back end, but to be honest with you, lately that's been my protocol for cheat meals, and I'm way more functional. I'm at like before I'd be devastated, probably like 50% capacity. But after doing this protocol, I'm like at 85 to 90% capacity. I don't feel that afterwards, and I don't really need like coffee to keep me up afterwards. I just kind of let that whole thing play out. So that's one thing I would suggest to you. And again, everybody, do your own research, do your own due diligence, check with your doctor, see if it's right for you, research it, etc., etc. That's one protocol. So like for a cheat meal, I'll do that. Like for example, after I came back from Whitman's, I popped some activated charcoal to clean up the mess. Um, Probiotic, bone broth. You got to get on the bone broth, dude.
All right.
You should. This is something you should have been ahead of me on. Like totally. This is
Oh,
something.
I'm totally with you on it. I actually think that it's probably one of the best things for you. I just
Something
don't
that
really do
you
it.
would do that I'd be like, what? You're crazy.
Yeah.
Got on it because I kept hearing about it, hearing about it, hearing about it. I'm like, all right, damn it. And there's a butcher right down the street, so I said, let me go get some bones and soak them for 5 hours. I would love to hear what you say, like how you feel, and any differences you aware, because you're more aware digestively, and you're more solid digestively than I am. So I want to hear about your experience, because your system is a little bit different than mine. And to be honest with you, this is the first spring that I haven't had itchy eyes or any allergy experience outside. And coincidentally, I'm religious with my probiotic and fermented foods, and I've also been more. I started my bee pollen protocol in the winter, and I've been sucking down brome broth at least 4 to 5 times a week. So these are all variables that I didn't do last year or the years before, and I had a little bit way bigger of a response to allergies outside. So
Yeah, I mean, ever since I went on I don't want to use the word diet, but ever since I started eating the way I did, and I had a year of doing it, and then I was, 4 months gluten free coming into the spring, this has been the best allergy season for me so far.
okay,
But
good, good.
without a doubt, like in my lifetime, definitely, it's the best. I've had today. Today was the worst day I've had, and then Sunday I was a little itchy with you, but it wasn't anything I couldn't get over. And yeah, so it's something I think I'm sort of trying to progressively beat, but I think you're uh, I think you're right. I do want to try the bee pollen. A lot of it's the convenience is why I never have done it because I've never been able to get exactly what I want. Like I remember one time I went to that farmer's market in Union Square, asked the guys, and they didn't have it.
That's where somebody got it for me.
Oh, that's crazy. Cause
Let me give you the name so you can check out the website. Hold on.
all right, so I tried that, but that was the main reason why I hadn't tried it. But that was why I didn't want to really break that gluten fast because over the weekend because I wanted to keep it going clean and see what an allergy season was like, being like immaculately uh, clean.
Yeah, justrawhoney.com,
JustRawHoney.com, eh?
and they have bee pollen. And but I do look to see if what farmers markets they're at because I believe it was Union Square where they got it for me. And get the granules because they're really good. I like it. I want to get some more just because it tastes good, and I feel like I get a little burst of energy when I take it.
What do you do? Like you chew it or you swallow it or what do you do?
I just take. Okay, so everybody, obviously, do your own research. This is just pretty much you're listening to a private conversation between me and Mark in terms of what I would do. Um, but do your own research. Talk to a doctor. See if it's good because I know some people can actually have severe reactions to it. So don't do anything unless you consult anybody that you feel you respect or is a doctor or something that you know is not going to get you in trouble. But my protocol was starting off small scoops and drinking it with water. You can chew it if you want, but I would just drink it with a little bit of water and just kind of get it in my system. And then now I can do like a tablespoon or less, half a tablespoon. Who knows? I mean, if you Google it, people say it doesn't do anything. There's no scientific, blah, blah, blah. It's one of those supplement type things, although it's a little bit more dangerous just because you could have an allergic reaction to it. So
It's
I'll,
kind of
go
it's
ahead.
kind of like a vaccination, really.
Yeah,
That's
I
all
mean,
vaccinations
it's a
are.
vaccination, but people have to be very careful with the amount because somebody could be like supremely allergic to that one thing and that kills them. So
Right, right,
just
absolutely.
test it with a doctor or don't even think like disregard. Um, I'm a little bit different because this is back in the 70s, 80s when I was growing up, where like my parents just gave it to me and I said, here, take this. Um, but it has to be local to your area or else it's not going to do anything. So if you go to Vitamin Shop or I'll order it online from the Vitamin Shop, you don't know if you're getting it from Indiana or anything like that. This is very specific to New York. So start off small. Obviously, check with a doctor. But I would recommend trying it to you, Mark, not to anybody else. Just to
Yes.
see, start small. So yeah, there's a little bit of a startup cost, but heck, if it does anything, it's worth it, right?
Right,
Even if
definitely.
it's just hormesis, even just like Dr. Rhonda Patrick says, if it's just to stress your body out a little bit in a controlled dosage, like that guy that. Were you the one telling me about the guy with the? Yeah, you were the one talking about the snake guy. But yeah, last 2 podcasts ago, right?
What was the story?
The guy who gets bit by snake venom.
I don't remember.
What are you talking about? There's a guy in like Vice. He was on Vice where he takes a daily dose of snake venom. Unless it must have been on Rogan. It must have been on an old Rogan.
I don't think it was me. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy that talks about it. He says he was on Vice and he does a daily dose of venom
Mm. Mm.
for stress purposes. So it's pretty interesting.
Nice. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean it's different strokes for different folks.
Right. Uh huh.
Yeah, no, I'll give it a shot. I've always wanted to try, the whole activated charcoal and the N-acetylcysteine. I'm just have really gotten out of the habit of cheat meals, or like my cheat meal is so lame, like to another person in a way. Like I'm like on the past 4 months I was on that Tony Horton status. My cheat snack was a gluten-free cookie and maybe a couple times a week having a bunch of almond butter. That was a cheat for me.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's very specific. I mean, in terms of what you want, but I don't know, man. Like I said, I've always gone from I want to be normal in terms of like I don't want to have these limitations on certain things. I can't do this. I can't. Drinking's the only thing that I really don't care about anymore, and I'm like, whatever.
Right.
I'm in the mood of for half a beer, I'll have half a beer. You know, that's where I'm at there. But I don't want to be like, I can't have this, I can't have that, I can't have this. Even if I want to have it, you know, that's the best thing. We do have taste buds, and it's okay to indulge every once in a while.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't want to be that way either. You know what's funny is I'm kind of glad you brought that up, is I feel like a lot of people, as you get healthier, like they sort of project that onto you, and it's not necessarily it, because it's just I don't want to say that I was abstaining in a way that was painful. Like it just I didn't want to. Like I was very conscious of what I'm asking my body to do, and that's working full time, that's training, that's doing jujitsu, that's studying, that's doing all this other stuff. And I knew there was no room for me to be throwing ice cream and cookies at it.
Yeah.
So it was like a performance choice. So I really was never tempted. But that's the thing, like you said, like sometimes if there's agony, maybe we should talk about this on another podcast. If you have a lot of agony with that, like that's something to work out. That's something you got to work out, and we'll kind of figure out. And if it's not, it's like maybe other people are projecting it onto you. You know what I mean? Like they'll be like, oh well, and I've had that happen. Like a lot of people will be surprised that I drink or something,
No,
and or not invite you out for it, and it's kind of like, oh well, don't worry about that. I'll
well,
still go out with you. I'll drink water. I'll eat some French fries. I don't care.
nowadays I ask myself in anything, am I coming from a place of weakness or strength? And anything, I'm talking about like you know,
Good
how
question.
do I talk to this person? Like I've always noticed that I'm like I want to question that because this last Rogan podcast is pretty good. It talks about like the Aubrey Marcus's thing, and but he talks about like giving your power over to people or giving your power over to fears. I thought it was gonna be very boring, but then he starts talking about how his one experience made him scared of everything. Like, oh, they gave him a fruit in the jungle. He's like, oh my god, what's this been washed with?
Right.
Versus like and I was thinking about that because there was a while where I can't have anything, I can't do this, and I felt like I got so tired from eating a bagel, and now I just put in my little protocols, and I'm like a little bit more functional. So in a way, it's kind of like helping me along, and like helping me to enjoy it. But yeah, man, this bread does affect me that way. It does mess up my stomach this way. So I'm kind of like trying to figure out a happy medium where it's like 80-20. When I do that 20, I don't want to feel like crap because I have a lot of work to do now. So
Yeah.
how can I have that 80-20 properly done? It's just pop in some N-acetylcysteine, and you're good anyways.
Yeah, well, the way I think of it is a little different. It's more of what's an absolute no-no, and what's discomfort, or is not the greatest, but you can kind of deal with it. So for me, for instance, I just can't eat like cured meats and like spicy stuff. Like it's just revolting to me. Like I feel like
Yeah,
shit.
pepperoni full.
I do like that's the one that's like has to be the one that I do like, maybe some prosciutto here and there, but I don't like it doesn't make me feel good. It's really the spicy food is the one. And like to me it's like I'm not going to eat it cuz it just makes me feel like shit. Like it's like poison to me. There's got to be something some people hate. Like if you hate ranch dressing and it's revolting to you. Like
Yeah,
extreme spiciness is like that to me. But then you go down on the scale. Like there's bread. Yeah, I'll get a little gassy, won't feel great. But like you said, if it's there, that's what you eat. You live.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I think it's more what are you doing for the symptoms, and you're working on that. That's why I really want you to do the bone broth because I think you eat cleaner than I do, and you could you eat cleaner than I do, and because of the bone broth, you could take more advantage of the benefits of coating the lining of your intestines with the bone broth, the fat, the marrow, etc., than I do.
right,
So I would love to hear about your experience eating clean and adding the bone broth on top of it.
right. Well, email me the recipe after, so I have it in my inbox, and
Okay.
yeah,
That's
and I'll
yeah.
do it.
All right,
And
cool.
then yeah, I will try it so we can do a project on the podcast, and the
Yeah, that's
people
pretty
can.
good. 'Cause it'll be some a newbie like a you're a little bit more in tune digestively with food than I am. I know it messes me up, but other than that, I have a little bit more of a open palate, like burrito type. I'll do my dos toros twice a week.
Yeah, see, I'm yeah, yeah. Well, we already have our differences documented
Yeah.
well. I'm
Well,
curious.
I do no beans and no cheese though.
Oh, no, no beans, really?
Yeah, no bean. I haven't had beans. I haven't had. It bloats me like crazy. My stomach just.
Yeah, but wow, what's a burrito like? You just get the meat and the rice? Is that
Oh,
what you do?
they hate me because I go. This is what I get. I go. Can I get a chicken burrito? Um, no beans, light rice. So just one scoop of rice instead of like the whole thing of rice. Instead of beans, can I get peppers, which is basically red, yellow, and green bell peppers mixed in with onions.
Uh-huh.
And then so basically it's the tortilla, the a light bed of rice, the onions and the peppers, and then just the chicken
Uh-huh.
and just the guacamole, and then all the hot sauce I want. That's it.
Wow. Well, that sounds good though.
So basically, the only thing that I really feel guilty about is the tortilla.
Not too bad. That's not too
And if you're
shabby.
really feeling guilty about the tortilla, then you can get a bowl and just double the chicken. So everything the same, no beans, and just get rid of the tortilla and just double your chicken.
Yeah. No, that sounds pretty good. That sounds appetizing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was going to say something. Oh, well, I will say preliminarily, just so it's on record, going into experimenting with bone broth, I'd be curious because I know I eat a lot more fat than you do. I'd be curious if, like, I'm not already getting some of the benefits of these things.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's just more.
Because I am very diligent with the fats I eat, and
I think
probably
more
a lot of people would
concentrated.
say I eat too much, but it's very non-inflammatory. So,
Yeah, and yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and
Oh man.
I will report on it, if not next week, the week after.
Usually I do it on a Sunday, so I have it Monday through Thursday because it does after 4 days it goes bad.
Oh yeah. Well, that's
And,
like any kind of
and
broth.
and you can cook with the fat that's on top is basically lard, so you cook your beef with that fat.
Oh, good times.
Yeah, that's why I think you'll enjoy that more because it food tastes different. Once I started cooking my grass-fed beef with that fat, I was like, wow, this is fantastic.
Hmm. Good stuff. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
How can they reach us? Tweet us. Get everybody out there.
At Fun Meatheads, and go to functionalmeatheads.com. And you can also find us on Stitcher and iTunes. You just search Functional Meatheads, but it's probably what you already did because you're listening to us.
Sucker.
So yeah, and you can email us at functionalmeatheads@gmail.com if you want to bring anything to our attention more directly or in more long form. We like those. And yeah, we'll turn it in there. We will be back next week, and maybe with some bone broth. And let's go
Or a dead,
Pens.
or dead Mark from allergies.
Or dead mark from allergies. Yeah, I'll have to the bee pollen is something I'll do, but I have to look at it. I don't have any allergies to bee stings, but before I pop that in, I'd have to test.
We're not committed.
You are not committed. Anyway, take care, everyone. It is time for the woo off, and
That's
I
regular
hope
show. That's the bottom line.
and watch the game 7.
Then watch them lose.